Thank you very much for the invitation. I will try to go over my presentation a little bit more quickly than I thought because I will talk about irrigation by drilling. I will introduce myself. I'm the General Director of Irrigation. I'm a General Director since 2014. Before, the Water Secretary had no irrigation area. It was within the exploitation of resources area. I'm the first director, and I'm very proud of it. And the idea is to foster the work through the Secretariat regarding irrigation, not only by drilling, but gravitational irrigation. When we started working about our work in Córdoba, we have to talk about the legislation. In force in Córdoba, we have a water code since 1973, in which it is very well specified which are the rights and obligations that we have as members as members of hydrology use, and which are the effects within the scope, the framework of the legislation. The enforcement authority is the Secretariat of Water Resources. Today is the one that is in charge of monitoring and regulating the use related to water resources. And it's also very important to say that in this water code, the priorities for use are established. The main priority is for supply to the population. The second one is for industrial use, and the agricultural use is in the third place. This is important because when we have an establishment or we have to restrict the use of water, surface or groundwater, there are some priorities to give priorities precisely to the water use. For use of groundwater in the water code, it is stated that it is necessary for an establishment with drilling, it is necessary to request their authorization to the enforcement authority. We cannot use underground water if it is not approved by the enforcement authority, that is the Water Resource Secretariat. It is considered that the use of groundwater can be authorized, but eventually. That is to say, that if we have to restrict due to different reasons, like the lack of flow, for instance, we can restrict this use and give priority for the use for consumption. Another important legislation is the irrigation consortium and other uses. This law was created in 1991 for irrigation users consortium for gravity irrigation. And when the use of underground water started to be more frequent, it was amended. This law was amended pursuant to the needs we had, because the user consortiums of underground water, the main purpose is to control the use and volume of the users and to cooperate to the use of water and to the development of new works. The difference with the gravity irrigation consortiums, they are in charge of the distribution of water and the monitoring and maintenance of channels, which, for example, have already a system like the one we have in the northwest part of the country. This is an important difference because the drilling consortium, each enterprise is private, so the extraction and the flow they obtain is not from does not belong to a general system, so the maintenance of channels does not exist. This is made up by this irrigation consortium is made up by 7 members, and the important thing about it, sorry, is that it has a legal entity and that it has also a legal responsibility. It has a legal entity and a legal standing. These consortiums have a legal entity and a legal standing. That is to say that they can carry out economic transactions as well. And the consortiums, the maintenance thereof is with the payment of fees and the contributions made by users. There can be donations, gifts. And in the province of Córdoba, we have 2 consortiums. The one in zone 1, which is in green, and zone 2, which is behind the small mountains or hills. And here we can see the departments of Córdoba who have more gravity irrigation and the departments who have drilling irrigation. The ones who have more gravity irrigation are the departments that in the 1940s started doing the most important dance because it was necessary to have a supplemental irrigation for the producers in that area. With the arrival of technology in the mid-90s, drillings started to be carried out, and we locate them mostly in the center of the province of Córdoba. The total surface of gravity irrigation potential is 67,500,000. If we had them in good conditions, we could have that number of hectares, and today we are roughly at 30,000 hectares. And by drilling, we could have 140,000 hectares. This was carried out between 2010 and 2014. It's a project of research and development where we started studying the underground flow in the province of Córdoba. The organizations who participated are the University of Rio Cuarto of Córdoba, the Water National Institute, and the University Blas Pascal. And it was passed by the Science and Technology Ministry of the province of Córdoba. As the main objective of the project was the characterization and dynamic and availability, quality and potential of the water resources and the aquifers, and to distinguish their properties, hydrochemicals and hydrodynamic, and to develop a database with geographical information. Within the results or the maps that were developed thanks to this work, we can see a map with the hydrogeological areas of the province of Córdoba, where we can see the different most important rivers in the province of Córdoba, and which is the direction of the runoff for those rivers, the division with the high mountains, and the different rivers, Cruz del Eje, Pcia, that go to the salt areas and who have a different morphology.
Se hicieron
We also have maps of the depth of the water tables and the electrical conductivity. And there are maps on underground water quality. We have arsenic, sulfate, and sodium maps, among some other maps and some other information. Additionally, we created some kind of books, technical books and scientific books. The technical books are the ones that you see here. They are divided according to the aquifer, and they contain technical information. This is information for decision making and information, technical information for different institutions and different agencies. And then we have the scientific book containing more scientific related information uh, just to continue researching on the subject. This map shows a summary, or is a summary of the previous maps. We can see here in red we have marginal areas. The quality here, I mean, the quality of water here is not that good. It's bad indeed. It has characteristics not suitable for irrigation. Perhaps with reverse osmosis, this issue may be solved. In green, we have areas that are potentially favorable areas, and this is where we see the different streams and different rivers. This is an area where we can increase the exploitation of irrigation. And then we have yellow areas, and we need to continue exploding and researching on these areas just to find out more characteristics. In Córdoba, we have for the Area 1 consortium, we have 550 wells. So, as I said before, we have approximately 550 wells with an irrigation area or irrigated area of 120,000 hectares. We have a relationship between wells and hectares of 218 hectares per well. And in the Tras la Sierra consortium, which is this area that you see on the map over there, we have approximately 140 wells, 1,200 millimeters per year. So the sheet of water here is greater than in the other area. This is because of the need of water, supplemental water. The need of supplemental water is greater here. And this is the driest area that we have in Córdoba. And the relationship between hectares and the wells is 90 hectares per well, and the total consumption per year is 180 per year. So this we have the consortium of Rio Los Sauces, and here we can see a relationship between the gravitational irrigation and drilling irrigation. From the PID research in 2016, we had the different regulations for the use and management of underground water. So the objective of this was to provide a regulatory framework for to unify criteria and to have one single archive. And this regulation has different chapters, so each sub-chapter is devoted to certain topic. For example, chapter number 1, we have drilling companies or well drilling companies. Chapter number 2 is related to technical directors or the technical staff in charge of performing drillings. Then we have the owner of the facility, and this has to do with the authorizations that are going to be granted to the owners, the conditions that are required, and the information that the holder or the owner needs to provide at the time of requesting the authorization, the use of underground water, and the limitation or the limits of use of underground water. And then we have the drilling, the single or unique drilling archive where all the information is contained. So that regulation nowadays is being developed. We are now refining information, refining data. We have drilling information, for example, the technical director, the company in charge of performing the drilling, the different profiles, the affidavit, the lithology, the electrical profiles. I mean, all that information is being collected, and nowadays, with this resolution and some other resolutions, we have recorded about 9,000 drillings. Some of them are only in paper, but we have many drillings, and this is something very important to take into account. And another thing that I would like to highlight is that all 9,000 drillings are not only for irrigation. These are drillings for industrial use. Many drillings are for water consumption. So we also have many drillings that are not being declared, so they are used for irrigation. So we have approximately 9,000 drillings, but I believe that 30 or 40% of them belong to or are used for irrigation, and the rest is used for some other rest are used for some other purposes. So we need to be very careful, and we need to work on this because the demands and the needs are growing, and the volume or the flow required for the different products and for the different undertakings are different. So that's why we need to work all together with different institutions and agencies to cover and meet all the needs. Thank you.